Hi there. I'm one third of Explained, our podcast. You can see the other folks here in their cartoon image. Each week, we're all kind of taking on a different lens within this discussion about AI. And this week, we talked to Brian Glennie. So we're looking at ethics in AI implementation, which is a deep chasm of a rabbit hole, to say the least. But I found two research articles that I thought were really interesting. One is called Against Artificial Education Towards an Ethical Framework for Generative Artificial Intelligence Use in Education by Swindell et al. Of course, I should have memorized that and been able to do that without reading it, but I didn't. The second article is called Ethics of AI in Education Towards a Community-Wide Framework. This is by Holmes et al. And these were interesting articles in a couple of senses. So the Against Artificial Education one was particularly interesting because it looked at this through more of a philosophical lens. The authors really proposed a framework for ethically evaluating AI use with a particular emphasis on two things: humanization and action-oriented learning. It was really interesting. They pointed out their biggest fears, or not fears, but cautions, were to think about the impact on truth and power structures while advocating at the same time for a really great integration in order to enhance human agency and critical thinking, which I think is what we all want to get to, but we're scared about this. And that the overall thing was that they really wanted to ensure that technology serves humanizing educational goals, and that is the lens through which we put all of this work. So that was a really deep research article that I had to read a couple times, but really fantastic to get some thinking going. And it wasn't saying don't do it. It was just saying there's some really strong questions to consider here. The second article, The Ethics of AI in Education, was reporting on a survey that was sent to leading AI and education researchers about ethical considerations in their field, which I think sounds like a great population of people to ask a question of. And that article really said that the focus on ethics needs to go beyond good intentions. And I took that as, not sitting there and saying, well, we asked some hard questions. We had a 30-minute meeting and we feel like we did our due diligence. And it really called for an explicit attention to the ethics, like really deep ethics of fairness, accountability, transparency, and bias, of course. But they also talked about the importance of two big kind of logistical hurdles of data and equity. And they encourage this community guidelines to make sure that AI is ethical by design, not designed and then made ethical, which I thought was a really powerful thing to think about. So the big three things I would take away from these two articles, these two research sources, was that both sources emphasize the importance of ethics. And as we said in the Brian Glennie episode, it's like these questions haven't been asked before. It's just like philosophers of old thinking about things that hadn't been asked before. And that's kind of what's happening now. So they both say, you have to dig into ethics. The other thing that they both say is that the ethics are deeper than what we would consider surface ethics. And the last thing that they all say is that there needs to be an explicit engagement in ethical issues and development of guidelines at a community level and frameworks so that we're moving towards something better for both researchers and educators in terms of AI implementation. There's my two research things for the week.